Serious people who like their job. What do you do? Public library, everything is free. I don't have to sell anything. People come in because they want to be there. I get to help people who want to be helped, or provide an environment where they can chill and relax. They only owe money when stuff is late. Edit. Holy cow, this blew up. I think I got caught up. I'll catch more responses tomorrow. I need to be up and ready to help the public of my community, but I'll sneak in and gab with you guys tomorrow too. Thanks for your love of the library. Librarian is my dream job, but it requires a minimum of a master's degree around my area. Mad respect for librarians. Facilities, a glorified janitor. The position has morphed. I started by cleaning floors and toilets. Now so many of my creative strengths are used. We're updating our campus, so we build furniture, construct new walls and stages, choose paint colors, engineer unique solutions for an aging campus, and so much more. I've learned electrical concrete work, welding, sound engineering, drywall, installation of floors, ceilings, doors, stage backdrops, you name it. If something needs to be done, we get it done. I love it. Facilities manager here. You are right about the job morphing. Just remember the facilities motto: the last to know, the first to blame. Been doing it for 30 years, 17 years at GT. In Atlanta. I can retire in 8 months. Seaplane pilot, charters, sightseeing, flying fishing, and seaplane flight training. Removed. I was a college librarian for 21 years up until recently and loved my job, interacting with students, faculty, technology, having access to any normal article or book, having a sense of helping appreciative people. It was a dream. My commute was 7 minutes. Decent pay, good benefits. I can't do chats. Sorry, my iPad can't handle them. Close bracket. Library assistant here for 7 years working at the welcome desk of a major university library. God, I love that job. It paid maybe $10 an hour and was part-time, but interacting with the patrons and sharing knowledge was so satisfying to me. My favorite part of the job was a student coming in saying, "How do I find a book?" Which was a code phrase for "I have no clue what I'm doing. How do I even use the library that I'm paying thousands of dollars for?" And I had my own little 5-minute quick and dirty crash course so that they could be up and running. What I loved was giving them said crash course, and then they'd wander off into the stacks, and from there, they'd get the books they wanted, and maybe even others that were helpful. They'd often stop by and thank me, and by God, that was the best part of the day for me, especially in the beginning of the semester, when they would drop by and go through, and I knew that I made it so that they didn't need me anymore because they could do it on their own. Edit. Adding the quick and dirty crash course tutorial. Quick and dirty crash course to using the SU library site to find a book. Primarily for desktop computers. Not sure how it looks on mobile, but hopefully this works the same. Effective as of July 30th, 2020. Go to SU.edu for the university homepage. Scroll down and on the right there should be a subheading of academics with libraries under it. Click that and you should be at libraries.su.edu, which is the library's homepage. You'll see a large box near the top with the word find. Scroll down a little bit and look for the phrase search the cat, which is our catalog. You'll see a page with quick search on it. On the right side is catalog searches and advanced searches under it. Go ahead and click that. Don't be afraid of all the options. You can't break anything. You can use any or all of them, but most of the time you'll want author and title, since often you have them given to you in your assignments. Let's put in Lewis as the author and The Voyage of the Dawn Treader as the title. You don't have to worry about the other boxes. Down below the text fields, where you type, are a bunch of options. You can experiment with them at your leisure, but let's just leave those alone and hit search. There's now a page of results with the most recent publications showing first. Look for the year 2000, which suits my explanation of some of the things the library can do. It should show a sailing ship floating in what appears to be ice. Go ahead and click. You'll be at item details and you should see a ton of information, including a picture of the cover and all sorts of information. Now you're getting close. You must have the call number at the bare minimum, but the library itself is huge, so you'll also want to note the location. I'd normally tell the person to write down the information or to take a picture with their phone. Scroll down and there's a grey box with holdings, which is telling you about the items we have in our system. Right now it's saying 2 copies exist. One is at Petit Library and Paterno Library stacks up, which is the main library at University Park. If you were at the desk asking me, you're already in the building and I'd be able to give directions to the location. The other is currently at Penn State Schuylkill, which is a branch campus. If you wanted the item immediately, you'd go to the 5th floor of Paterno. You're already in the building. If you're at the desk, and you'd use the call number fiction L49374 void 2000 to find it. If you were at the branch campus, you'd look for PZ7 L58474 VO 2000 to find it. Note about call numbers. Look for each item 1 character at a time. So for PZ7 L58474 VO 2000, which is a fairly standard low C number, you look for P first, then PZ, then PZ7. Trust me, a lot easier this way. Then look for PZ7 L and don't worry about the numbers, just find PZ7 L and then look for the numbers. For fiction L49374 void 2000, you'd look for fiction. Then you'd look for the L. Then you'd look for the 49374 and so on. I'm using this example which has 2 copies in different locations for a reason. I would then scroll back up and show the patron the I want it button in the upper left. You can click that, and an employee will get a copy of the book for you, even if the book is at another location. It might take up to a week, but usually it's within 3 business days, and sometimes within a couple hours, if it's in the building. They'll email you saying it is ready. There is no additional charge if they have to ship it from another location. I've had a lot of people say they had no idea about this, and the response was universally favorable, especially from instructors. Now here is where my script would change depending on the person's interest level. If they looked like they were hitting information overload, or they looked bored, I'd just end it here and encourage them to use the I want it button or to attempt finding it themselves. But if they seemed interested, I'd show them a few extra things. I'd definitely show the Ask a Librarian on the right side for assistance from an actual librarian instead of an assistant who may or may not have the answers you need. I'd also show the nearby books on shelf link, especially for non-fiction items, since if you're at home it might give you other ideas for search sources. I'd also go back to the advanced search option and show a couple of the choices like library location and material type to weed down results. This doesn't seem like a quick and dirty crash course, but I had it well timed so that I could do it in 5 minutes, unless the person seemed very interested in learning more. I once had a student from India who was there almost half an hour asking a ton of questions. She graduated with high honors as I recall, and I'd like to think my not so quick and dirty tutorial in her case helped. Waste management. I drive a garbage truck. I start early, but there are days I'm off at noon. A fillate hours for me ends at 1:30, and I work 5 minutes from my house. I'm in the ack all day and left alone. It's wonderful. My waste management truck driver is cool as hell. He drives up and says what's up every day, always enjoying a nice fat cigar. I think up and draw cartoons. Every day. A syndicated comic for newspapers. Only learned to draw at age 43, so it's been a cool midlife turn. I'm one of those handful of people trying to be at least a fraction of what Gary Larson was slashes. Oh wow, you have just made my day. I just started taking drawing lessons at age 48. Would love to somehow make it into a kid's book. I have the ideas and the characters. Just need to draw them. All the best to you. I work in a homeless shelter. I was homeless like 10 years ago, and it feels good to help the marginalized community I was once a part of. Bless you. I'm a locomotive engineer. It's bad at controlling thousands of horsepower and tons all with my hands. I love running with the window open, listening to the power working and waving at people when they wave with more than one finger. I'm in my late 30s and still get excited to give you guys and gals a wave. Trains are super cool. I work at a doggy daycare. I left vet teching after 12 years for something less stressful. Edited to at, since this comment has your attention, can you all please stop naming your dogs the same handful of names? This chiz is hard to remember without having multiple lunas, lilies, millies, etc. Thanks. I'll do my best to answer some questions after work tonight. I noticed a lot of the comments have to do with scooping poop. I'm keeping a running tally of how many poops I scooped today. Been at work for 3 hours, and we're already at 44 poops. Edit #2, scoop 78 poops in a 9-hour workday. About 9 poops per hour. About a poop every 7 minutes. I guess that is a lot of poop. Interesting. I work in technology, and I was considering becoming a vet tech, because I love animals, and want to work with them one day. However, I've heard it is stressful. Could you elaborate? Removed. I'm a meteorologist. I look at weather all around the world and work directly with Fortune 500 companies to help them prepare for natural disasters. Considering I've wanted to be a meteorologist since I was 5, it's a dream come true, and I feel blessed. I too dreamed of being a meteorologist as a child up through high school graduation. Everyone that knew me was aware of my passion for weather. However, as I planned to enroll in college, I became aware of the required advanced math classes. Totally tanked me. Couldn't hack the math, so I had to walk away. Joined the medical profession. Lol. Still absolutely love following the weather. I get calls and texts from family/friends throughout storm season. I live in Oklahoma, asking for my thoughts. Kudos for making it. Best wishes and blessings. I make replicas of dinosaur fossils for museum display. The company I work for does full-sized replicas, but I primarily work in the division that creates teeth and claw replicas, and a few scaled-down skull replicas, for gift shops. Mon dude, all the other comments are asking as to how you got into that. Spill the beans. I have worked in zoos my entire career, mostly as a zookeeper, and now get to travel and work in conservation. Incredibly gratifying, and truly feel I have never worked a day in my life with this career. This is what I wanted to do with my life. Majored in biology, minored in anthropology, focusing on primates. But didn't want to move to the city. Pretty much all zoos are in major cities and things are just more expensive there. What's your education background? How do you get started with it? I'm currently a factory worker making sheet metal roofing and siding. It's one of the easiest jobs I've ever had. The work is relatively repetitive, but there's enough variation to keep it from getting boring. The people I work with are kind and funny. Management actually gives a chiz about us, and the benefits are fantastic. I love working manual labor. I could never have a desk job. Nice man. I'm a sheet metal worker also. I do architecture, although this will sound sad, but at the moment I'm enjoying working as a delivery driver. For clarity, I work for a wage unlike, say, food delivery couriers who are paid piecemeal. It's well below my education level, a BA, second degree in progress, and it's nowhere near my parents' information security. I enjoy the job, mainly because I'm gaining rapid familiarity with where I live. I get to see small businesses I didn't know existed, like the local place that grows awesome bonsai trees and interesting houses. I now know which roads are arterials, where they start and end, and which seemingly major roads are utter garbage. Edit. If you are one of those YouTubers, what readdeth the subreddits for views, please do not do so on this post, unless you ask first. Edit. As much as I love that Reddit shiny, give your money to civil liberties groups like BLM and F instead. Every delivery driver I know loves their job. What is up with that? I'm a loss prevention person at Burlington. All I do is stand at the door, wipe off carts, and say hi and bye to people coming in or out. Easiest job in the world. Most of my coworkers hate me for the job. Edit. I have conquered the art of being bored. I went through elementary through high school being this bored in a class, so this job was no different for me. So you're the guy who ignores the alarm going off when I walk out. I'm not a thief. I just somehow trigger alarms. I'm a social worker. Currently I work with seniors who live alone with a disability and have no family to take care of them. I plan on getting my master's and becoming a therapist. After working construction for 8 years and getting a degree in business, I said duck it and followed my passion regardless of what everybody in my life said. I'm so ducking glad that I made that decision. It was really hard to get myself into the mindset that it's not too late. Once I was there though, I wasn't leaving. I put my foot down and was determined. Went to a community college, got 12 credits, working an entry-level social work job, and will be applying for my master's once this show of a pandemic is over. Or maybe when I cave and decide to do online classes. Either way I feel like I'm living my dream, even though I'm not nearly where I want to be. Yet edit 1. Wow. I appreciate all of the love so much. I fell asleep after posting this last night, but I promise I will try to respond to everyone once I get some free time today. I was scrolling to see if there was another social worker. I'm doing my master's right now, and I highly recommend it. Good luck and have fun with it. D. Architecture. During quarantine I was doing 60 to plus 90 hours a week. The only thing holding me was my pay, and for the profession edit. Now that this comment is getting some attention, feel free to PM me any questions that you have about architecture. Also visit r/judgeyork of Reddit too. I'm UK based, so unfortunately I'm not that knowledgeable in US policies. There's a few comments down there that explain really well how to get qualified in US. Also there are lots of different branches in architecture, not just architects. BTW, I'm not a fully qualified architect yet, however I do work in big projects like masterplans, luxury villas and high-end commercial projects. I mainly do 3D modeling, rendering, producing drawings and diagrams. How do you get into architecture? And in terms of success/reality, is the profession more akin to an art field where the few very best succeed and the rest kind of flounder, i.e. high and low outliers, or say engineering, where people tend more towards the average, but the average is pretty high? I've always wanted to do this as a career, but was told it's fairly risky / you need to just be gifted. Edit. TLDR, architecture is Minecraft / Halo Forge mode, but you have to obey physics and may get sued. And you have to be a business person. But in all seriousness, it sounds really cool. Thanks for all the answers, and I think I'll be exploring it further. I'm a night shift worker at a manufacturing facility. I love being able to set all my machines, read a book, or play on my 3DS, and be by myself. Once all my machines are set, I just need to change finished parts for new blanks every 15 to 20 minutes. That sounds awesome. Before the pandemic shut everything down, I was a Broadway dresser. I got to work backstage on some awesome shows with pretty costumes and be a part of the magic. It was such a rewarding feeling. AII fellow stage crew, represent. I teach history and government at a small rural high school. My students are extremely polite and respectful. It's not often the younger generation calls their elders, so I love what I teach, and I get along with all of my co-workers. Hell yeah, I have a BA in history. Question: how do you think covered in the current administration will be taught in the history books decades from now? I'm a speech therapist working with stroke patients. I love rehab. I tried pediatrics, but it was not my thing. Rehab is for me. I was scrolling to find this. I'm also an SLP working in rehab/acute care. Although our profession is greatly misunderstood, I love working with brain injuries and giving families education. We help people when they are at their lowest, and that's enough for me. Server/bartender IDK, everyone sees it as something they want to get out of. I can see the wisdom in getting a career in a growing and stable field, but I honestly enjoy it. The craziness, the good guests, the bad guests, people having fun being super inappropriate, people being pissed off for something that really doesn't matter. It's a lot of fun, and for the most part you're in control over how much money you make. Even if I find a big boy job, I'd still try and work some shifts at a bar or restaurant, pay for groceries/gas, and have fun doing it. I'm a server, and one of my favorite parts that nobody usually talks about is everyone getting pissed over cheers that doesn't matter at all. Like, lady at table 22 ordered in a slightly annoying way. Ducking nunt, I hope she dies. I'm a data analyst. I set up and maintain a large amount of data flowing into a database and process it so that it's usable within B tools and for machine learning projects. Then after it's in a good format, I use B tools to make cool visualizations so that a few couple hundred users who want different things from this data can all go in and be able to find what they need efficiently. Sometimes I also get to do some machine learning projects. Edit, link to a comment about some good skills to learn to get involved in data analytics. Seconded. I started out just doing a couple of reports for a company I worked for, discovered I love it, and started training myself in my off time and eventually convinced them to let me take control and do a bunch of analysis that no one was currently utilizing. Now I do it full time and I love it. To provide a little insight on what the visualizations show, because I found that there are a lot of people who don't actually understand what we do easily. I look at usage data for tools. I can look at single tools, small groups of tools, measuring tools, power tools etc, or large groups of tools, hydraulics, welding etc, and see how often they're hired out, which people are hiring them, who is always giving back tools damaged, who never brings back tools, where most of the tools are being used. Things like that. Then I put it in pretty chart form for execs, and or, just one example, tables for the people using the data, to take note of who they should chase for outstanding tools. I'm a medical specialized interpreter, and also general one. I like it that much that I'm mastering 2 other languages at the same time, Italian and French, to be an interpreter. English, Italian, Spanish, French. I work in a hospital and use medical interpreters all the time. Thank you for all you do. A great interpreter makes a huge difference in patient communication. Freelance illustrator and graphic designer. I've always liked the idea of making things that are useful to people in any way, and I always try to apply this mentality into my work. Not to mention that stimulating my creativity is something I've always enjoyed, and something this line of work requires on a constant basis. Of course, creative blocks are an issue occasionally, but it's still something I truly enjoy. I would have expected more designers on this thread. Getting to create for a living is a blessing. Some days I have to pinch myself that I'm paid to do what I do. I'm a sales executive for a utility company. It's a job that most people imagine would be soul crushing, but I genuinely enjoy it. That's not to say it doesn't have its bad moments, but it's mostly pretty fun. Plus it's a relatively well-paid job in a very recession-proof industry, so at the moment I'm ducking grateful to have a stable job. As a rather solitary person who doesn't particularly like people trying to talk to me, I take a perverse satisfaction in a job where I spend my day trying to talk to people who don't want to talk to me. Interesting. Software developer, and I absolutely love my job. I literally can't say one bad thing about it. I don't even have a degree and I learned everything on my own. Yup. I think the reason why we like it so much is because we taught ourselves. Given how bad the education system is where I am, I'd say my interest in computers survived college. I feel bad for a lot of people who probably had their interest ruined by the curriculum. Matte painter for film. It's fun and lives at the intersection between having to have artistic talent and technical experience. Honestly, sometimes it can be maddening as I come from a creative background, traditional illustration and sculpture, so certain programs are like going from speaking French to speaking Chinese. But all in all, it's fun to see your work when it's composited into a film and get to see the shots before any VFX goes in. Frankly, it's surprising just how many movies use VFX, and I can assure you it's almost everything you've seen, including smaller independent films. I knew there were VFX in nearly everything. I didn't realize that matte painting was still done. I assume it's digital at this point. The job I loved. Retail at an adult store. On an almost daily basis I could be helping an 18-year-old just start the discovery of what they wanted, to helping a 70-year-old grandma find something to stave off the effects of menopause. Side note: the grandmas were always the best, no shame, no fears, and would flirt and joke with us constantly. I served 10 years in the military, and that one job selling sex toys I probably did more to help that community than in 10 years in uniform ever truly helped them as individuals. This is awesome. I'm looking to apply for a job at my local store when things pick up again. Got any tips for the interview/job? Deleted. This sounds like my absolute dream. Would you mind explaining how you got into this? Or how one might go about finding similar work? Park ranger. I work for the National Park Service. I started off seasonal and got to visit 6 different national parks, getting paid to live people's vacation. and be in most beautiful places. Now I'm settled permanently on the National Mall where I get to work with special events, getting to see firsthand all the amazing events that go on in Washington DC and be a part of it all. Wow. This is my dream job / what I'm in school to do. Out of curiosity, did you go to grad school? I've seen that a master's degree is highly recommended and am debating whether or not I should apply this fall. This will probably get buried, but I'm a winemaker. Plenty of cool things about it, especially if you actually enjoy drinking wine. I teach college and I love it so much. I get paid well to conduct daily TED Talks on topics I love discussing. I also love public speaking, and these students pay thousands to listen to me tell stories. I also show an episode of The Office during club, which is my favorite show. It also feels great to ask a student for a meeting and ask them how you can help their mental load and then giving them the thing they need. It's like opera, everyone gets an extension. I don't quite give them away, but when I can make reasonable adjustments to help someone, I always do. I'm constantly surprised I'm paid for this gig. From one student to a teacher, any tips on public speaking? The presentations I gotta do are killing me. My 9-to-5 job is in environmental consulting. On the side I do contract work / independent consulting using my 9-to-5 job skills. I also run a woodworking business and a photography business. What does your job in environmental consulting consist of? I just graduated with environmental studies bachelor's and wanting to pursue urban planning, but I've also looked into consulting. Hairstylist. I chose this career instead of pursuing a career with my college degree. It allows me to be creative, work in a social environment, I can wear whatever I want, and I get to help people feel good about themselves when they look in the mirror. Same here. I love what I do and love the freedom to create my own schedule. Since having kids I've dropped down to 3 days a week and still make close to 6 figures. I always thought I would go back to school to finish my degree, but I can't think of another job that I'd like near as much. I'm an epidemiologist, first year out of school. Certainly an interesting first year, and I'd say I probably have some job security right now. Hell of an entrance. Talk about being thrown in the deep end of the pool with no floaties. Aerospace engineer. I design fighter jets and satellites for a living. How? Components? Structurally? Feel like we all left uni imagining we were to do this, and it has been quite different. Software engineering. I love designing logic and solving problems with code. It can be pretty frustrating sometimes, but highly rewarding afterwards. What type of schooling do you need for that? Senior clinical research. Oh shit, oncology. I switch projects every few years and get to learn new indications very thoroughly. My background is molecular biology, and when I get the right projects I really love what I do. Unfortunately, there is a ton of paperwork and regulation involved, and I spend a lot of time writing reports. Hey, I do something in clinical research too. Physics and optics research. I have a massive selection of lenses, mirrors, and light sources, and I use them to measure non-uniform diffractive gratings. They basically just make a rainbow. It's like a big Lego set with no instructions, and I don't really know what I'm looking for, but today my boss told me having a lot of good ideas is better than knowing something for certain. Love that shiz. Edit, my rainbow screen setup. Now that's a lit job. Reading through these, it seems most people who like their job like it because they work with good people and have good managers. People quit poor management, not jobs. It's not a secret. It's not news. Nobody is pulling a surprised Pikachu about it. One day, being a manager will require a certificate in management 101, and that day will usher in a new future. But until then, some dude's mate will get the job and do it badly, but they are the boss's friend, so it's okay. Actor in live theater. I ducking love my job. I was recently Squidward in the SpongeBob musical on tour in the US. Corona took that away. It inside a hospital. I go out if something breaks, or we deploy PCs for new practices, etc. Everyone appreciates me, and the pay and benefits are great. Removed. Marine engineer. I like solving problems, and the moment you figure out how to do something is a golden feeling. What's an example of a project you might work on? Technical editing. As a kid I enjoyed editing articles on Wikipedia, so this seemed right up my alley. Technical writer here. I also do technical editing as part of my job. I love it. Probably enjoy it more than the writing. I'm a kennel worker. Every day I clean out the kennels, feed, play and cuddle dogs and cats of all cuddly shapes and sizes. I work at a Star Trek space simulator as an actor and a supervisor. I get to make a room full of people think they're in a spaceship and fight aliens and stuff. Corporate accounting. I love working with numbers and with Excel, so the job is a natural fit for me. Also, being work from home since March has made the job even better. I can wake up 5 minutes before work starts and never be late. I was scrolling through to see if there were any other accountants before commenting. It's really the best. You also can work anywhere for any company and you learn the ins and outs of the business better than almost anyone aside from senior leadership. There's also the ease of day-to-day monotonous processing that's very little stress interspersed with just enough fire drills, problems to solve, and larger projects to keep things interesting. Other than the stereotype that comes up constantly that accountant are bores, it's absolutely the best job. Edit. Typo driving me nuts. I'm a nurse that currently oversees a geriatric memory care unit, but my pay in a special needs and geriatrics, the elderly. I love nothing more than making people who have special needs or memory care disabilities happy and feeling better. It fills my heart/emotional battery more than it drains it. Their smiles, their laughs, their brief moments of lucidity and joy in what memories make them feel happy again. I would gladly dodge punches, scratches, verbal aggression, out of fear and confusion, every day for those fleeting, but brightly burning moments of happiness in their lives. I make chili con queso, and salsa and pepper jellies and stuff. So, you made salsas all day. Cool. I'm a nurse. It's physically and mentally demanding at times, but I feel very fulfilled. Also a nurse, over 30 years now. I'm still excited to go to work every day and I can't imagine doing anything else. I never wonder if what I do matters. I know it does, but yeah, it's also the hardest thing you'll ever love. ESL teacher working with refugees and immigrants. I was studying at a language school when I moved to Europe a few years ago. Europe was having lots of immigrants and refugees then, so 60-70% of my classmates were refugees or immigrants. I was studying there for almost a year, and it was a very memorable year for me. Lots of lovely people, lots of culture learning and story sharing. My teachers were all very passionate and friendly. One of my favorite teachers has been teaching there for 30 years. He has new batch of student every 6 months, yet I could still see he was holding his tears when he was giving out our certificates on our last day. I'm a doctor specializing in emergency medicine and subspecializing in pre-hospital emergency care/helicopter emergency medical services. This would be my dream job if I had the patience and money to go to medical school. Musician, composer, instructor, conductor, performer, pipe organ, piano, concert harp. I'm a CNA. I wipe her and give hugs. I blend, bag, package, and ship coffee at a local roastery. I'm the entire crew except the roaster. It's the absolute best job in the world and has made me into a total coffee snob, but I love it. I'm a city bus driver and I adore my job. It doesn't feel like I'm working, feels like I'm doing people favors. Can you give me a ride to the doctors? Can you give me a ride to work? Can you take my cat to the vet? You're so sweet. Thank you for your service. You help make the city a home. 3. I'm a drug and alcohol recovery worker in a prison and I love it. The biggest thing I've learned is that some of these men just never had the chance to succeed. So many were born into abusive, addicted families, so drugs and crime is all they've ever known. But many of them are so kind and funny, they just never got the right opportunities in life, which is where I come in. Disability service worker. Public defender. My job is incredibly frustrating and frequently rage-inducing, but sometimes, every once in a while, I get to touch someone's life in a good way. Those moments make it all worthwhile. I work in a sex toy shop with a focus on sexual health and proper BDSM. It's an incredibly rewarding job, and there's never a boring day. That's awesome. Glad there's people like you in the community to help educate and destigmatize. I work with female indigenous youth on an island a ferry ride away from my home. We paint, do crafts, go for walks and talk. Today I picked berries, painted in a grey field, and found baby crabs on the beach. I make sandwiches. I like to do stuff with my hands. I love editing. I've been writing since probably the age of 4 or 5, ever since I learned how to read. Mostly on the level of the dog crossed the street and died back then, but I figured it out. I know how to put a story together, and I know how to take it apart and put it back together again, stronger and better. I come from a long line of mechanics and machinists. I think I have some genetic quirk that makes me want to work with my hands, and this feels a lot like it. I'm terrible at actually working with my hands. I ghostwrite romance novels too, and that's fun. I like breathing life into stock characters and making the best of the outlines I get, and it's rewarding knowing I'm fulfilling somebody's fantasies and need for escapism. I do just bang them out, though. My pain lies in the children's book I just wrote, and I hope to get legitimately published as a children's author under my own name someday. Nota bene, I used to be an Amazon peon before this, and anything is better than Amazon. Not to sound arrogant or anything, but I absolutely could not tolerate doing a single repetitive task for hours. I need mental stimulation, and I can't be happy in a job where I can't use my brain. I was legitimately suicidal working that job. I sell wedding dresses. Oh, now that is awesome. I'm a lead singer in a band. P won't reveal the band name, but we are big enough here in Ireland and in the UK. We have an American tour next year, so let's hope that goes well too. I make a fairly good income writing songs and then just singing them. Couldn't ask for more, to be honest. I'm just gonna pretend this is Bono. I work at a grocery store. I love my coworkers. We're tight. My managers are really helpful and understanding, and I guess I just like working. I've done a lot of volunteering before this, so now that I'm still doing things for others but getting paid, it's pretty wild. Also, my coworkers are so fun. Did I mention them? I make personalized gene vaccines for cancer patients. Teacher. Many people say teachers love it for the perks, summers off and such. Yeah, that's cool. But there is something so incredibly satisfying about turning that light bulb on in a student's head. When kids tell you you're their favorite teacher, you're the one that they can talk to and is there for them. You're the one who makes them laugh. It means the world. We often forget that kids growing up nowadays have it really hard. Social media really isn't helping at all. However, in this line of work, I'm really able to make a positive impression upon these kids, and for the 43 minutes that they're in my class, they can forget about all that and smile. And I teach history, so I'm able to talk about some cool stuff along the way. Removed. I'm a tattoo artist, still technically an apprentice. I love using my talent to make people happy and look better. For those who are wondering the common question, what is my weirdest tattoo? Well, I'd have to say they were all pretty normal. I did cover up a prison tattoo that was done with a needle and graphite melted in water, so that was a thing. Teacher. Although this coming school year is causing a fair amount of anxiety, I'm thinking about you and all the other teachers. I work in a similar field, and I'm terrified for what will happen. I'm sorry you have to head into this. I'm a fish and game officer in the Northwest. I never wanted to be law enforcement, but I didn't like lab work and I didn't want to go to school for a master's. I really enjoy helping preserve our resources for the next generations. And I will admit I love giving tickets out to people who litter. Unlike most law enforcement, I imagine, I deal with people who are generally out enjoying nature and are happy to be out and about. And I will admit I love giving tickets out to people who litter. Thank you for doing this. Littering is one of those things that pisses me off more the older I get. I'm an oyster farmer right now. Early mornings like 3 AM to 6 AM to 7 AM, sometimes 2 AM. But you get out hanging baskets, lifting lines. I get to see the sun rise over my bay in town 5 days a week. Lifting lines, you can see the oysters opening and closing, and you're reminded that you're helping millions of these little guys grow. Some days the harbor is like glap. I've seen a pod of dolphins swimming along the boat just under the surface of the water, less than 20 centimeters from my hand. Sea lions. Starfish chilling out. Jelly boys. That combined with a good crew makes the early mornings worth it. Though some days there's wind, there's rain, the tide's up, so you're swimming whilst trying to hang baskets or throw baskets, which is surprisingly difficult. Treading water with your feet and holding 5-10 kilogram baskets above your head and throwing them 5 to 10 feet. It's a really good job. I direct an academic library. It's a small operation, so I get to do every task. I help with research queries. I help direct data-wide purchasing strategies. Pre-COVID we had a robust chess club, and we put out Girl Scout cookies year-round. For right now the library is closed due to COVID, so essentially I'm being paid to go back to grad school and develop my skill set. Also I'm finishing a history book that uses originally researched biographies as a scaffold to explore how research is done. It's melding genealogy and historiography with interdisciplinary contextual research. Publishers, hit me up. The how is just as important as the why, maybe more. So it's a good story, but I sneak a lot of instruction in there about skills, techniques, and critical thinking. I'm finishing the story of the winnest sailor in the US Navy currently, and it's a blast dealing with a person with such terrible character. I advise and teach at a small community college. I love working with students who are first generation college students or at-risk students, IEP in high school, learning disabilities, poor test takers, or single and/or working parents, or from underserved populations, native students, other non-white students, LGBTQ+ students, etc. I love being able to watch students who never believed they could even get into college walk across the stage as RNs and dental hygienists and cybersecurity techs and paralegals, as well as transfers to 4-year schools. I can't accentuate this enough. It's ducking dope knowing I had a hand in that. I work for a grocery store and I'm the person who picks out what specialty cheese, crackers, salamis, and olives will our stores carry. Writer/editor. I work from home and have 98% freedom to do things that way I like to get them done. I work when I want, which means I'm not desperately waiting for the last hour of work to be over. I can finally find work-life balance after many years being office-based. Unemployed writer here. I got laid off from my last job as a proposal writer for a large financial services company. Toxic environment, bad work-life balance. I actually had a mental breakdown and had to go on disability at one point. I would love a writing job with work-life balance, lol. I work with my local rape crisis center or child advocacy center and get to provide free therapy to survivors of sexual trauma and child abuse. Child advocacy is so important. I think we as a society ought to focus more on the fact that kids have rights too and aren't merely an extension of their parents. I'm planning to become a guardian ad litem once this whole pandemic blows over enough for them to start accepting applications again. Seems like a good way to spend a few hours a month helping kids who need it. Oh my, you watched until the end? That's fucking awesome, dude. Thanks for watching.